The day my father died, I was in his office reviewing quarterly projections for Sterling Innovations' new medical device division. Numbers had always been my sanctuary, clean, precise, unchangeable. Unlike people, spreadsheets never lied or played favorites. Mr. Sterling wants to see the Q3 estimates, his secretary Martha said, poking her head in. She'd been calling him Mr. Sterling instead of your father since my first day at the company. Professionalism, she'd explained, was everything. Almost done, I replied, double-checking my calculations. The medical division was my baby, a project I'd spent 3 years developing. The projections looked promising, a 40% growth rate, conservative estimates showing potential revenue of $50 million by year's end. I never got to show him those numbers. The heart attack hit during his afternoon tennis match. By the time I reached the hospital, Sarah had already arrived, designer heels clicking against sterile tiles as she paced the waiting room. My sister always did have perfect timing. Finally decided to show up. She snapped, barely glancing at me. "Where were you?" "Working," I said quietly. "At the office, where you haven't been in months." She waved her hand dismissively. "Some of us have lives outside that dusty building, Madison." That dusty building was Sterling Innovations' headquarters, the company our grandfather had founded and our father had built into a billion-dollar enterprise. Sarah treated it like a trust fund, showing up for board meetings and important client dinners, but leaving the actual work to others, mainly to me. The doctor's arrival cut short our brewing argument. His expression told us everything before he spoke a word. "I'm very sorry," he began, and the world tilted sideways. The next few days passed in a blur of funeral arrangements, condolence calls, and board meetings. I handled most of it, working through my grief the only way I knew how, by keeping busy. Sarah spent her time entertaining relatives and giving tearful interviews to business magazines about carrying on our father's legacy. The will reading was scheduled for a week after the funeral. I sat in our family lawyer's office, the same leather chair I'd occupied during countless childhood visits with Dad. Mr. Patterson, who'd handled Sterling legal affairs for 30 years, looked uncomfortable as he shuffled his papers. "As you know," he began, "your father updated his will recently, just 2 months ago, in fact." I nodded. Dad had mentioned wanting to get his affairs in order, though he'd seemed healthy as ever. "The bulk of his personal estate will be divided equally between you both," Mr. Patterson continued. "The house, investments, art collection, all split 50-50. Sarah smiled, probably already mentally redecorating the Manhattan penthouse. However, the lawyer cleared his throat regarding Sterling Innovations. My heart stopped. Dad and I had discussed this. Just last month, we talked about my 5-year plan for the company over dinner. He'd seemed excited about my vision for expanding the medical division, even proud. Control of the company, including the position of CEO and chairperson of the board, will pass to Sarah Sterling. The words hit like physical blows. Sarah's triumphant gasp barely registered through the roaring in my ears. There must be some mistake, I managed. Dad and I, we had plans. The medical division is specifically addressed. Mr. Patterson cut in gently. Your father left instructions that all current projects should be reviewed by the new CEO for viability. Sarah's smile turned predatory. Don't worry, little sister. I'll give your pet project all the attention it deserves. I sat there numb as Mr. Patterson continued reading. The details washed over me. Voting shares, board positions, corporate structure. All I could think about was Dad's voice during our last dinner. The medical division could change lives, Madison. It's exactly the kind of innovation Sterling needs. Had it all been lies? The next morning, I arrived at the office early. As usual, my security badge still worked, though I wondered how long that would last. The medical division team was waiting for my morning briefing. 15 brilliant engineers and researchers who trusted my vision. I heard about the will reading, Martha said softly as I passed her desk. I'm so sorry, Madison. I managed a weak smile. Thanks, Martha. Has she arrived yet? 3rd floor. Moving into the executive office already. Of course she was. Sarah never wasted time claiming what she thought was hers. I made it through the briefing somehow, focusing on technical details and development timelines. My team knew something was wrong, but they were kind enough not to ask. These people had followed me, believed in me. What would happen to them now? The answer came sooner than expected. Madison. Sarah's voice cut through the quiet hum of the engineering floor. She stood in the doorway of our research lab, looking absurdly out of place in her camel suit. We need to talk. I followed her to what had been Dad's office. She'd already replaced his degrees and family photos with modern art pieces. His old leather chair, worn from years of late nights and important decisions, was gone, replaced by something sleek and strong. I've been reviewing the numbers, she said, perching on her new throne. The medical division is hemorrhaging money. It's a development phase, I explained, fighting to keep my voice steady. The projections show whatever you want them to show. She tossed a folder onto the desk, my carefully prepared reports. This isn't what Sterling Innovations needs right now. We're streamlining operations, focusing on our core business. Core business. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dad always said innovation was our core business. It's literally in our name. Dad isn't here anymore. Sarah's voice turned cold, and frankly, neither should you be. I stared at her, this stranger wearing my sister's face. What are you saying? I'm saying you're fired, Madison. Clear out your office by the end of the day. Security will escort you out. The world seemed to stop. You can't do this. I built that division from nothing. Those people trust me. Those people, she cut in, work for Sterling Innovations, my company now. And you, she smiled, the same smile she'd used when stealing my toys as children. You're worthless to this company. Always have been, really. Playing with your little projects while I learned how business really works. By partying with board members and kissing up to investors. I shot back. When's the last time you actually developed anything? Development is for employees, she said dismissively. Leadership is about vision, and my vision doesn't include you. I stood there, hands shaking, as decades of competition and resentment crystallized into this moment. Dad believed in me, I said quietly. Dad pitied you, Sarah replied. Why do you think he left me in charge? Now get out of my office before I call security. I walked out with my head high, past Martha's tearful face, past my confused team members, past the security guard who'd known me since I was a child. One box of personal items, family photos, engineering awards, the prototype of my first patented device. A life's work reduced to a cardboard box. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A message from an unknown number. Meet me at Joe's Diner tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone. There's something you need to know about your father's safe. I stared at the message, wondering if grief was making me hallucinate. Dad's safe. The old one in his home office? Sarah would have cleaned that out already, along with everything else. But what did I have to lose? Little did I know, that message would change everything. But first, I had to survive the longest night of my life, alone with the knowledge that I'd lost not just my father, but my life's work and my last connection to the company he built. I drove home in a daze, the box of memories beside me, feeling both too heavy and too light. Tomorrow would bring answers, or more questions. For now, all I could do was wonder, what secret could be worth all this pain? Joe's Diner sat on the corner of 5th and Pine, a relic from a time before Sterling Innovations dominated the city skyline. Dad used to bring me here for chocolate milkshakes after school, before board meetings became more important than father-daughter time. I arrived early, sliding into a worn leather booth with a clear view of both entrances. Old habits die hard. Dad always said a good executive watches their exits. At exactly 3 p.m., Martha walked in. "You?" I straightened in surprise. Dad's secretary. No, Sarah's secretary now. Looked different outside the office. More determined, less deferential. "Your father knew this day might come," she said, sitting across from me. "He made me promise to wait until the right moment." "What moment?" She pulled an envelope from her bag. "The moment your sister showed her true colors." Inside the envelope was a single key and a handwritten note in Dad's familiar scrawl. "West Wall, behind the Monet. December 14, 1989. Dad's old safe. I breathed. But Sarah must have opened it already. Martha smiled. "That's what she thinks. Your father had 2 safes in his study. The obvious one, behind his desk. That's where he kept standard documents, things he expected people to find. But the real safe, his private safe." She tapped the key. "Only 3 people knew about it. Him, me, and now you." "Why you?" "Because I've been more than just a secretary for 30 years, Madison. I was your father's most trusted confidant. I knew things about Sterling Innovations that even the board doesn't know." My mind raced. December 14, 1989. Why was that date familiar? "The day Sterling Innovations went public," Martha supplied, reading my expression. "Also the day your mother left." The memory hit hard. I was 6, Sarah 10. Mom walked out during Dad's IPO celebration, leaving nothing but a note and a lifetime of trust issues. "What's in the safe?" "I don't know," Martha admitted. "But your father said if anything happened to him, if Sarah ever tried to push you out, I should make sure you found it." She glanced at her watch. "Sarah's in board meetings all afternoon. The house will be empty." I gripped the key tightly. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I watched you grow up in that company. While Sarah was partying through college, you were interning in the labs. When she was dating board members' sons, you were filing patents. You are your father's daughter, Madison, his true heir." She stood up. "The company needs you. More than anyone knows." 20 minutes later, I let myself into my childhood home. Everything felt different, colder somehow, as if Sarah's presence had already begun erasing decades of memories. The study was exactly as Dad had left it, probably the only room Sarah hadn't changed yet. The Monet, an original, worth millions, hung innocently on the west wall. With trembling fingers, I lifted it. There, almost invisible against the wood paneling, was a seam. The key fit perfectly. Inside the wall safe were 3 items: a thick manila envelope, a USB drive, and a smaller envelope with Sarah's name on it. I opened the manila envelope first. Inside was a detailed report from a private investigator, dated 6 months ago. My hands shook as I read. Subject: Sarah Sterling investigation confirms systematic embezzlement from Sterling Innovations Medical Research Fund. Estimated total, $28.7 million. Funds traced to offshore accounts and real estate purchases under alias Jennifer Blake. Photos spilled out. Sarah meeting with shady lawyers. Documents showing money transfers. Property deeds in the Cayman Islands. The USB drive contained something even more damaging. Video recordings of Sarah selling Sterling trade secrets to competitors. She'd been sabotaging the company from within for years. But it was the letter with her name that explained everything. Dad's final message to his eldest daughter. Sarah, by the time you read this, you'll think you've won. The company will be yours, just as you always wanted. You'll believe I chose you over Madison. You're wrong. I've known about the embezzlement for months. The traded secrets, the offshore accounts. All of it. I gave you chances to come clean, to prove you could change. You failed every test. The will you think gives you control? It's a trap. The real transfer of power was executed months ago. Everything, the voting shares, operational control, even my board seat, was legally transferred to Madison through a series of blind trusts. Your CEO in name only. The moment you open this safe, those trusts activate. Madison becomes majority shareholder and true CEO of Sterling Innovations. I loved you, Sarah, but I had to protect the company. More importantly, I had to protect your sister from you. The choice is yours now. Resign quietly, return the stolen funds, or face criminal charges. Madison will know what to do. Dad. My phone buzzed. A text from Martha. The board meeting just ended. Sarah's headed to the house. I quickly photographed everything, then replaced it exactly as I'd found it. The front door opened just as I rehung the Monet. What are you doing here? Sarah's voice cracked like a whip. I turned slowly, saying goodbye to Dad's office, since you'll probably redecorate this room too. Get out before I call the police. I walked past her, pausing in the doorway. You should check Dad's safe, by the way. The real one, behind the Monet. Interesting reading material. Her face paled. What are you talking about? Ask Martha for the key. Or better yet, ask her about December 14, 1989. I smiled. Goodbye, Sarah. See you at tomorrow's board meeting. I heard her heels clicking frantically across the floor as I left, knowing she'd find exactly what Dad wanted her to find. In my car, I pulled out my phone and dialed the number for Sterling Innovations' head of security. Jack. Madison Sterling. I need you to lock down all company servers immediately. Authorization code Victor Echo 9. And put a hold on any transfers from our research accounts. Yes, Miss Sterling, he replied without hesitation. Dad's loyal people were still in place, just as he planned. Next, I called our family lawyer. Mr. Patterson, it's time to execute the Phoenix Protocol. Are you sure? He asked. Once we activate those trusts, there's no going back. I thought about Sarah's face when she fired me, about the years of sabotage, about Dad's final act of protection. I'm sure. My sister needs to learn that some safes hold more than just secrets. They hold justice. Tomorrow would bring chaos, board meetings, legal challenges, perhaps even criminal charges. But for now, I smiled, knowing Dad had outplayed us all. The medical division would survive. Sterling Innovations would thrive. And Sarah? She was about to learn what Dad always taught me. In business, as in life, the truth will always come out. All it takes is the right key, the right safe, and the right moment. The Sterling Innovations boardroom had always reminded me of a gladiator arena. 24 stories up, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city our family had helped build, and a massive oval table where corporate warriors fought their battles. I arrived early, watching the sunrise paint the skyline in shades of gold. Martha had already prepared the room, folders at each seat, coffee service arranged precisely, blinds adjusted to minimize glare. The little details that made big moments work. Security reports Sarah arrived at 5 a.m., Martha said, setting a cup of green tea at my usual spot. She's been in her office making calls all morning. I nodded, picturing my sister's desperation. Any transfers get through? No. The accounts are frozen, just as you ordered. Though she tried, 17 attempts to move funds offshore since midnight. And the board members? All confirmed attending, including Thomas Y. That was crucial. Thomas Y., our largest independent shareholder, had been Sarah's strongest supporter. His vote could swing the entire board. By 8:55 a.m., they began filing in. Board members, legal counsel, even a few shareholders who'd earned the right to attend. Many double-took at my presence, but no one dared comment. The tension in the room could have powered the building. Sarah arrived last, naturally. She'd changed clothes since yesterday. Armani power suit, killer heels, war paint perfect. But her eyes gave her away. They darted around the room like a cornered animal's, finally fixing on me with pure hatred. "What is she doing here?" she demanded. "Waiting for you to begin the meeting," I replied calmly. "There are some interesting items on today's agenda. You're not on the board anymore. Security." "Actually," Mr. Patterson spoke up from his corner, "Ms. Madison Sterling's presence is required for today's proceedings." He began distributing additional folders. "If everyone could please review the documents before you." Sarah snatched her copy, face growing paler with each page she turned. The room filled with murmurs, as others did the same. "This is impossible," she finally spluttered. "These trusts, they can't be legal." "Oh, but they are," I said, standing. "Every transfer, every document, every signature verified and notarized." Dad was very thorough. "Dad was dying," she snapped. "He wasn't thinking clearly." "Actually," Martha stepped forward, "Mr. Sterling began planning this 18 months ago when he first suspected the embezzlement." The room went dead silent. "What embezzlement?" Thomas Y. asked sharply. I nodded to Martha, who activated the presentation screen. Evidence began filling the display. Bank transfers, property records, emails between Sarah and our competitors. $28 million, I announced to the stunned room. Stolen from our medical research division. Our father's private investigation confirmed it all. Lies. Sarah slammed her hands on the table. This is a desperate attempt to what, Sarah? To protect the company? To stop you from selling our trade secrets? I pulled out my phone. Should I play the videos Dad collected? The ones showing you meeting with our competitors? She lunged for the phone, but security was faster. 2 guards materialized beside her, firm but professional. "Miss Sterling," the head of security addressed Sarah. "We need you to remain seated." "This is my company," she shrieked. "I am the CEO." "No," I said quietly. You're not. You never were. The will was a test. Dad's final chance for you to prove you could change. Instead, you showed exactly why. He couldn't trust you with his legacy. Thomas Way stood up. I moved for an immediate vote of no confidence in Sarah Sterling's leadership. Seconded, another board member quickly added. You can't do this. Sarah's voice cracked. Daddy gave me the company. Dad gave you a choice. I corrected. Return the stolen funds and resign quietly, or face criminal charges. Time to choose, sister. She looked around the room, finding no allies in the faces surrounding her. All these people she charmed and manipulated over the years. Now they saw her true nature. Fine, she spat. You want the money back. Take it. But don't think this means you've won. I'll fight this in court. You'll what? I interrupted. Reveal how you embezzled millions? How you sold company secrets? How you fired the legitimate CEO hours after Dad's funeral? I shook my head. Think carefully about your next move, Sarah. Prison jumpsuits come in designer orange these days. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. There is another option. One your father prepared. He slid a document across the table. Sarah's hands shook as she read it. A full confession in exchange for immunity from prosecution, I explained. Sign it, return every penny you stole, and you can walk away. Keep a small trust fund, even. Enough to live comfortably, if not extravagantly. And if I refuse? Then I'd press charges. The evidence goes to the SEC, the FBI, and every news outlet in the country. The great Sarah Sterling, brought down by her own greed. Tears smeared her perfect makeup as she stared at the document. For a moment, I saw past the designer armor to the sister I'd once admired, once loved. Was any of it real? I asked softly. Did you ever actually care about the company? About Dad's legacy? I cared about winning, she whispered. That's what Dad taught us, wasn't it? Win at all costs? No, I shook my head. That's what you chose to learn. Dad taught us to innovate, to build, to make things better. You just couldn't see past your own reflection. She picked up the pen, hand trembling slightly. You think you're so perfect, have you? Daddy's real hair? The true Sterling? No, Sarah. I just think I'm the sister who didn't betray everything our family built. The scratch of her signature echoed in the silent room. As soon as she finished, security stepped forward. Please escort Ms. Sarah Sterling from the building, I instructed. Her credentials have already been deactivated. She stood, straightening her designer jacket one last time. Congratulations, little sister. You finally won. This was never about winning, Sarah. It was about protecting what Dad created, what we were supposed to protect together. As the doors closed behind her, Thomas Weiss spoke up. I moved to formally recognize Madison Sterling as CEO and chairperson of Sterling Innovations, effective immediately. The vote was unanimous. Hours later, after the press releases were drafted, the employees notified, and the initial shockwaves had subsided, I stood in Dad's old office, my office now. Martha brought in a box I'd requested from storage. Are you sure about this? She asked as I pulled out the old leather chair, Dad's chair, the one Sarah had discarded. Some things shouldn't change, I said, running my hand over the worn leather. Some legacies deserve to be preserved. I sat down, feeling the weight of responsibility settle around me. On the desk, Dad's old photo still stood, all of us together, before Mom left, before Sarah's ambition poisoned everything, before money and power tore our family apart. Your father would be proud, Martha said softly. He knew, didn't he? All along, he knew it would end this way. She smiled. He knew his daughters, both of them. The one who saw the company as a prize to be won, and the one who saw it as a responsibility to be earned. I picked up the medical division reports. My division, the one Sarah had tried to destroy. The numbers still looked promising. With the stolen funds returned, we could accelerate development, help more people, build something truly meaningful. Martha, I called as she turned to leave. Thank you for everything. Just doing my job, Miss Sterling. Madison, I corrected. After 30 years of keeping my father's secrets, I think you've earned first-name privileges. She nodded, eyes glistening slightly. Welcome home, Madison. That evening, I worked late, just as Dad used to. The city lights twinkled below, each one representing a life, a story, a potential customer or employee or partner. Sterling Innovations didn't belong to Sarah or me. It belonged to all of them. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, you'll regret this. Family should come first. I typed back, it did. That's why Dad chose me. Then I blocked her number, turned back to my work, and began planning the future of Sterling Innovations. Not as the sister who won, but as the daughter who understood what winning really meant. Sometimes a safe holds more than secrets. Sometimes it holds the truth about who we really are. And sometimes, just sometimes, justice comes with a key, a note, and a father's final lesson about love, trust, and the true meaning of family legacy.